What's up, world? Today we're going to be talking about the fundamentals of limits. But before we just go right in, let's take a step back and take a look at calc first, because limits is the foundation of calculus. So calculus, the essence of calculus is the dynamic nature of variables. You might be asking, what does that mean? But if you compare it to pre-calculus, pre-calculus has static variables where x equals to something. X equals to 1. Now in calculus, it has dynamic moving variables, and x approaches 1 is an example of that. Now, even Newton came up with this idea that the limit of when x approaches to a of pre-calc equals calculus. Now, pre-calc is this static mathematics, and if you add it to this limit that makes a become dynamic, it becomes calculus. So that's just a general idea of what calculus is. Now let's get into the limits portion. Definition of a limit. The definition of a limit is this formula. The limit of x when x approaches a, f of x equals L. So what it means by x approaches a is that there's a certain value a, and x comes infinitely close to it but never touches it, and that defines a limit. When it gets really close to it but doesn't touch it, and because of that it equals another value. Why don't we take an example? So, the limit when x approaches to 1, x squared minus 1, x minus 1. Okay, so you see the limit when x approaches to 1. Now, if x approaches to 1, it's so close to it, it's almost 1. And the reason that this works, because if x really is 1, the denominator equals 0. And we don't want that to happen. But it really doesn't equal 0, because this is a little bit smaller than 1. It's coming really close to 1, but it's not 1 yet. Now, the way you can solve this problem is first factor equals limit. You always want to keep it nice and labeled. X minus 1, x plus 1. I just factored the numerator, x minus 1. Okay, and because the denominator doesn't really equal 0, you can cancel it out. Equals limit of x approaches to 1, x plus 1. Now that you have this statement where the denominator doesn't equal 0, you can go ahead and plug 1 in since it's so close, so the answer would be 2. Now that's just the general idea of a limit, and keep watching my videos if you want to learn more about limits.